Okay, I think we are all here
Hello.
and ready for this new webinar. Just a sound check. Can everyone hear us on the other side? A quick
Yes,
sound check.
I do.
Okay, then I think we are good to go. Ready for this webinar. Let me first of all introduce us. Of course, I'm Bruno. I'm working at TMS Software, and today I have together with me Adrian on my left side and Wagner on my right side. So you can see the three of us. I let you briefly introduce yourself, Adrian.
Hello. I mainly work with Excel, as some of you might know, the product manager of that part. Well, I did part of the development of TMS Smart Studio, what we're doing today with Wagner, a little bit of everybody.
Okay, and Wagner on my right side.
Hi guys, I'm the product manager of TMS business product line, and I've been also working with TMS for a long time, and I believe many of you know me already. And I'm also part of the team that worked on the TMS Smart Setup, not Smart Studio.
Oh, yeah.
Too many studio products on TMS.
All right, let's go. I would say I bring up the slides.
Do we turn the cameras off? No.
And there we go. The slides are ready. So first of all, what do we have on the agenda of today? We will briefly go over what TMS Smart Setup exactly is. We will also explain why we developed this new TMS Smart Setup. And of course, we will dive into the details and explain how TMS Smart Setup works. We have plenty of time today for live demonstrations. And finally, due to this being a live webinar, there is also the opportunity to ask questions here. And so we will also give you sufficient time for all your questions, and we will be happy to answer these. So first of all, what is TMS Smart Setup? It is a automatic installation for TMS components for, at this moment, the Delphi and C++ Builder IDE. So it focuses on component installation in the IDE that you are working with. With component installation, of course, also comes the topic of installing component updates. So as we work all the time on our components, the update process is, of course, also something very important, and that is also covered by TMS Smart Setup. Normally, we have at this moment the capability to download the products from our website. So if you go under account, my products, there you can find downloads of installers. In addition, for people who have bundles, there is also the possibility to use the TMS subscription manager that deals with downloading these installers and launching these installers. But with TMS Smart Setup, everything is built into that process to automatically fetch the necessary files that come with updates of our components. A very important element, and I would say already coming to the next slide, but one of the main reasons for developing TMS Smart Setup was dealing with package dependencies. As our family of products has grown over time, and we've also structured these components to have dependency like FNC core, for example, or the BIS core package, and also dependencies between FlexCell and VCL UiPack, FNC UiPack, to make the best of both worlds possible. There was an important requirement to deal with package dependencies. And that's what we have also built into TMS Smart Setup to automatically handle this. automatic compilation and installation of the packages in the IDE itself. And with that comes, of course, the challenge with the increasing number of platforms that are supported, starting from Win32, Win64, and all the other targets. It is, of course, important that for the platforms support that you have installed in your IDEs, that this is also usable with TMS Smart Setup, so that it properly installs the components for all the platform targets that you want to use. So why did we develop this? So I come back to package dependencies. At this moment, with the independent product installers, there is no programmatic way to deal with package dependency. So we count on you respecting the right order in which to install the components with TMS Smart Setup that is handled automatically by the TMS Smart Setup. The interpretation of build logs was also often problematic, as you will understand. It was necessary to interpret the logs for all the various platforms against which you perform the build. And so we redesigned this from scratch with TMS Smart Setup. The current installers rely on Inno setup and have at this moment no way to perform a silent install. So the installs are Inno setup based. Sometimes they also trigger false positives for virus scanners. That's also today from time to time problematic. And at the same time, a silent install is also something that is desirable. So also here, TMS Smart Setup addresses this. Our Inno Setup installers were also designed for a single Windows user install. And also here, there was from time to time a need to overcome this limitation. And of course, so far, everything has been 100% strictly Windows limited. And TMS Smart Setup also offers or opens up possibilities to overcome this limitation. How did we do this? Well, we started this development already quite some time ago. So this is a long time in the making already. And it is based on a command line tool, a cross-platform command line tool that is the core part of TMS Smart Setup. This command line tool is fully scriptable, and so that makes it convenient to customize your setup sequences. As it is a command line tool, it can be fully used in a silent way, so without user interaction, and it can be used to perform actually even more than just install, uninstall. It can also be used to, for example, just perform downloads of updates. And it is with this scriptable feature also fully customizable. At this moment, the focus is on building this strong command line tool and allow you to use it as a command line tool. We understand that some part of the users will also prefer to have a UI front end for this tool, and that is also in the pipeline that we later on provide a user interface where you will simply be able to click, select products, and click to install and let the installer do all the work itself. Enough from my side. My colleagues Wagner and Adrian have prepared plenty of demos to show you how this works. So I leave the screen now to Adrian and Wagner.
All right. I try to share my screen now. Can you hear me? Okay. I show the TMS Smart Setup in action, and then Adrian and myself can answer questions and do a brainstorm about the possibilities and all the low level and all the details. It has a lot of interesting things that it can do that we can discuss together. But let me show you how it works on a basic level. I will, guys, Bruno and Adrian, please answer the questions from the chat. And as I won't see the screen here, just let me know if you need some, if I need to go back here, okay? Okay, is it displaying now?
Yes.
Okay. So to get started with it for now, I think the best way to go to our support center, and you can search for Smart Setup, and it should be the first post you find there. And here you have a download link for it. Okay, this is the full documentation, so you can of course read it later as a reference. But to get started with it, I will download. And as Bruno said in the presentation, for now, Smart Setup is portable and it's just the TMS executable that you can download and put in a folder of your preference. I will create a folder here, CTMS. You can choose whatever folder you want, and you can also choose a different drive if you want. You can save it to CTMS. And you can also put the executable whatever you want. So, but I think it's more convenient that you just put the executable in the same directory, because then you have all the TMS Smart Setup inside the folder. It's worth noting that TMS Smart Setup doesn't save any file. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian, but I believe it doesn't save any file outside the folder that you use it. So it's safe that later after registering the...
Yeah, no, it doesn't save any file. It doesn't change the registry in any way, except of course to register the components themselves. No?
So it's very portable and self-contained. Yeah. So all the temporary files, the downloaded files, even the compiled Delphi files stay in this folder. So you have
one thing to consider also is that it's good to install it in a place where you don't need admin rights. No? If you put it in program files, for example, then it won't be able to auto-update because it won't have the rights to auto-update. So it's nice to have it in the same folder so it can auto-update automatically like the rest of the components.
Right. So if I open it in the folder, if you type TMS, you get a small documentation, a brief help file about what you can do. That link at that topic at the support center also describes everything. But basically, you have these 3 commands here that you can use to get started with. The first one is TMS credentials. Let me clear the screen here. TMS credentials, which will ask you for your TMS account credentials. So, of course, with that credentials, you are able to access TMS repository and get what you are entitled to. So I put my credentials here. Good. And as we saw, the second command I can use is TMS list remote. Actually, yeah, I can do that. TMS list remote will list you all the products that you have available to install. So I see here that I have a few products. I will get this TMS login here, which is I think it's the lightest one to install. And with that ID, I can type TMS install TMS biz login. And it will download the product from the TMS server, and it will start building. It will take a while here because I have many platforms installed, but why it installs, I'll explain it a little bit. You see that I didn't put any configuration here, so it grabs all the Delphi, it detects all the Delphi IDs you have installed, all the platforms you have installed for each Delphi you have. So if you have Delphi Tokyo with Windows, and if you have Delphi 11 with both Windows and Linux, for example, it will just detect and install for them. So it's located, it's finished here. You see, for example, that it's just warning that it's skipped some Delphis because they are not installed here. In this machine, I only have Delphi 11. And it also, you see from the log that it installs for the platforms that I have installed in Delphi 11. So it will be Windows and macOS and Linux, almost all of them. So that's it, actually. TMS login is installed. And I chose a bad product here because it doesn't have any component installer, I guess. But let me continue here, because as you saw, it already worked, it installed it. You can do that for all products. So the basic operations here is just TMS install the product that you want to install, and it will download and install as you saw here. Now, you saw that it installed for all Delphi and platforms. I can configure that. I can fully change the settings here. So I'll do that now to show you and to speed up the presentation. You can type the TMS config command. It will create a config file in the folder and open an editor for you. It's a full YAML file with the configuration options that you can modify. So it explains here. It lists you all the options that you have and explains each of them so you can easily modify it. I go directly for the options that I want to modify, which is this. Delphi versions, that's no problem. I will change the platforms that I want to install to. So even though I have all my platforms installed here, I will change and ask it to install TMS components only for Windows platform. You can also, this is for all products, but it can also change the configuration for each product if you want. So for example, I want TMS Flexcell installed only on Windows, but I want TMS Business products installed on all platforms. So it's fully configurable. I will also disable the compilation for debug disuse to speed up the process here. Okay. So if I save here the file, you see that you have the file here. I can install another product, so it will be faster now. For example, I can install TMS Aurelius. Okay. And this is interesting because TMS Aurelius, in the current setups, you have to always remember to install TMS BCL, Biz Core Library first, and then install TMS Aurelius. And it happens with other products. Xdata depends on Aurelius, and RemoteDB depends on Spark, etc. So here you can see that TMS Aurelius depends on TMS Core Library, and it already detects that. So even though I asked it to install TMS Aurelius, it also downloaded TMS BCL and build both of them. Also note that since I have changed my configuration and asked TMS to only install products for the Windows platform, for all TMS products, it also uninstalled TMS login from the platforms that I didn't want. So except for Windows, it did uninstalled TMS login, which I have previously installed, and installed TMS core library in Aurelius. Now, yes, I can open Delphi here. Well, I didn't open Delphi before to show you that I didn't have anything installed, but now I have TMS login and TMS Aurelius. So everything is set here. You have the components available from the component palettes. Here you have TMS Aurelius. You have the components here. If I run, the library path is already set. And it only, of course, it only adds the binaries to the library path. So you don't have to, it doesn't compile anything, all the products at the same time. Some interesting things to also note here. Well, first, you have the TMS update components command. Unfortunately, it will not show anything because TMS update, the idea is that you run it from time to time. So if there is a new version of TMS Aurelius or TMS Login or whatever products you have installed here, it will check if your version is outdated, and if it is, it will download a new version and just rebuild and install. In this case here, of course, there is no new versions, so it just say that TMS Business, Aurelius, and Login are not modified. And it is also interesting to note that if, for example, only TMS Login has a new version, it will only download TMS Login, and when building, it will only rebuild TMS Login, so you don't have to wait it to rebuild everything again for Aurelius, Login, or BIS. We can simulate this here if, for example, let me go back to Delphi here. Sorry, I lost my window here. Okay, here, Delphi. So if, for example, if I open Aurelius source code here and I just modify it, and I ask for a build, there is a build command here, TMS build, which rebuilds all the source code. So it reinstalls everything, it rebuilds everything, but note that it will detect that only Aurelius source code was modified. So it says here that Aurelius was installed, okay, because it rebuilds and reinstalls, and core library and login are not modified. So it's smart, and it is smart enough to detect what it needs to do. So for example, even if you have 50 TMS products installed on all platforms that you have, if you just modify one product source code, it builds only that product. If there is only a new version of just 2 products, it will rebuild those products. And for example, if you install any fails for Android platform because your Delphi ID is not properly configured for Android, it will just install for the other platforms. It's not blocking. And if you fix the Android configuration in your Delphi and ask for a rebuild, it will only rebuild that product that failed for that platform that failed. So it's very fast and it's very robust in that case. Also, another thing you can note here that's very interesting, that I changed Aurelius source code and asked for a rebuild with Delphi ID open. So it works, it doesn't fail. But of course, if you have design time components, Delphi is locking the BPLs because the ID is open. But even though you can rebuild, and TMS setup will only say to you that installation was successful, but files were locked during the process, so you have to restart to see the new components. Actually, we can do some interesting tests here. So for example, I have this Aurelius data set here, and there is this class, there is this design time component here that you can see that the label is select class to load fields from. So I can try just to change that label. I don't remember the unit here, so bear with me for a while. Oh, it's C drive, sorry. Oh, good. I have to close and open. Yeah, this one. Select class to load all the fields from. Let me open the unit here. This label here. To load all the fields from. Yeah, I think it's fine. So if I rebuild, Aurelius, and I try to use the data set here. Yeah, you see select class to load fields from, but the packets were updated. So if I restart Delphi, it should work. So, all right. So it's nice to see that it only rebuilds what's needed and works from the IDE open. And again, I can, for installing, I can install multiple products. So for example, I think I'll do this here. And so you can wait while it does a work and talk about it. So for example, I can use masks. Let me go back to the list. TMS list remote. So this is my account. Of course, depending on the products you have licensed, you have a different list. If you have all access, you have a full list here when those products are added to TMS Smart Setup. This is what I have. I have all TMS Biz products and Flexel and VCL UI pack. So I can install everything. I can do just TMS install mask. If you have too many products, use it with carefully because it takes time and also it takes space on your disk and makes your IDE heavy. So choose, even though you have a gazillion of products from TMS, of course, choose the ones you are going to use. And I can use masks. So for example, I can ask it to install TMS Biz mask. So all the products names that match that, comma, and I also can ask it to install TMS Flexel and VCL UI pack. So again, sorry, a typo here. Let me clear the screen. So TMS VCL UI pack. Sorry again, another typo. TMS VCL .UI pack. So it's download what's needed. Adrian and Bruno, I think it will take a while here while you watch it download everything and installing. Maybe you have some comments. Adrian, something. I will show an install process, which is very smooth too, in a few minutes. So I'm not sure if you have comments, anything I missed.
Maybe we can pick in on some questions that came up in the chat room. And one of the questions was, what with multiple install paths? So, and people who want to manage, I think, also different versions.
You can actually, it's Adrian, please again correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's a folder based, so you can simply have multiple folders. It will manage them easily. Of course, you have to be careful. For example, let's say you have TMS1 and TMS2 folders. When you do this operation separately for each folder, you cannot from one folder ask to install TMS already on Delphi 11, and on the second folders do the same. It will not work. There will be a conflict. But if you separate the configuration accordingly, you can have just one folder with installed with one configuration and another folder for one configuration, and you can have them totally independent, right?
Yes, it was designed this way so you can have multiple things. Also, there is the ability, we've seen briefly in the config file, to install two different registry entries, because you can start Delphi with a different registry entry, and have a different set of components. So you could have a TMS1 and TMS2 components with different sets of components and start Delphi with registry 1, registry 2, and have two different Delphis configured in the same machine, no? With different components installed.
Great. Yes. Even the same Delphi version. So you can have
Yeah.
one folder 1 and one folder 2, and folder 1 installs to Delphi 11 with registry A, and the other Delphi 11 with registry B. So you can install different products and versions even in the same Delphi version, and open each Delphi version with a different registry setting.
You could have different versions too. I mean, TMS1 folder has the latest Excel for you to play, and the TMS2 has one version that you know that is solid and you want to use that version for production. So you have both in different registry entries in the IDE, and that's it. So you can have them both. You play with one, play with the other in the same machine. No?
So it was faster than I thought, but because I asked it to install only on Windows platform. So we see here that business Aurelius and login was not modified, so it didn't even try to download or rebuild it. And all the other remaining installed business products and Flixel and VCL UAPEC were installed in 1 minute without any intervention. We can
the parallel installing is it's quite nice.
With the IDE open.
Yeah.
So you see all the products installed now.
Yeah, Flexel doesn't put an info there, so
Shame
you
on
can
you.
see it, but it's installed. You can see it in the package. One thing you can see in Flexel is if you type usesflexel.vclflexel.core and write Excel file and press F1, it should Flexel.core. Flexel.core. And then do a TXL file. The Excel file, press F1
sorry.
there.
I didn't
you
install
don't
the
have
file here.
If you press help there, it will show you the
F1. It's also installed the components.
It's show to help in all the parameters and everything because it's registered in the. You should also be able to see in the start menu some entries from TMS. There's an API made there installed. That's for the
API made. So it installed tools. The Windows Start menu is over, isn't it? There's organization bars. You just have to guess what's there. I don't know. In my old school, I don't see anything. What's the path?
There's all apps there. You have to all apps there, and then TMS.
Yeah, here it is. TMS. Very hidden. TMS Flexel and TMS VCL UIPack here. Demos. You also have all the TMS VCL UIPack components installed here. So. Actually, there is a lot of categories here you have now. So it's so far so good. Oops. What else?
Wagner, there is also another question that came up, and maybe that's good to clarify. A question was, if you locally change the sources like you did for the Aurelius dialog, when you install an update, these local changes will be overwritten, right?
Yes, you have to. If you modify the source code, you have to backup it, of course. Just like it is with the current installers, they are also like that. So if you reinstall, it will overwrite what you have. We can see here if you run TMS lists, you have the list of the products you have installed in your machine. So in this case, it's the same products that I have. And what else you have here? Oh, as Adrian mentioned it, TMS can self-update, can update itself. So it will warn you, say you are using the latest version, but if you try this beta, actually all the time it will recommend that you keep it updated, but especially in this beta period, always call self-update. If you download a product, install a product or call update, TMS Smart Setup will also check for new versions of itself. So if you keep using TMS Smart Setup, it will from time to time already warn you about a new version available. And when that happens, or regardless, call TMS self-update so that you are sure that you are using the latest version. And yeah,
one thing that maybe we can show is how is this organized in the disk? Because the idea of this is not hiding this all from you, having a setup that does a lot of magic and you don't know what it's doing. You have the downloads there, so you can install it manually if you want. So maybe showing the disk where the downloads are and that stuff.
Yeah, let me show you the uninstall, which is the last part. And also the uninstall, it's very simple. For example, it's also interesting. The uninstall also uses dependencies. So for example, if I ask to uninstall TMS Aurelius.
And you can do it with the IDE open.
Yeah, I closed it. It says, cannot remove Aurelius because other products depend on it. Because I have Xdata installed here. So if I uninstall Aurelius, Xdata will not work anymore. So it doesn't let you do that. Actually, you can. There are command line parameters for you to force that if you want to, but of course we don't recommend it. So it already detects dependencies in this case. You can uninstall Cascade. So for example, I want to uninstall Xdata, but Xdata depends on Aurelius, right? Let me try, for example, I try to uninstall Aurelius Cascade. So you see that it will try uninstall Aurelius and all Aurelius dependencies as well. So if you want to install Xdata and don't want to install every dependency, just call uninstall Xdata Cascade and uninstall everything, that Xdata and all its dependencies. Here it didn't work because other products will fail. But I can simply do TMS uninstall, TMS bis, everything, and it's removed. It tries to rebuild. It does a check in the system if everything is okay. So it just reports you that Flexcel and VCL UiPath are fine, and all BIS products are uninstalled. And that's it. If I call TMS list, I only have Flexcel and VCL UiPath installed in my machine. So it's very easy. You just call install, and when you are done, you can do, for example, uninstall asterisk, and everything is gone. So a quick overlook on how it's organized. We have here the original command line that we downloaded. We have the YAML file, which is the configuration file that it generated that I displayed to you. Then we have two main folders here: the products folder, which is just what it downloads from the server, which is the actually source code, all the files that we have for the product. So for example, here's TMS Flexcel. You have the source code, the demos, the some extra files here, the same distribution you get with the current installer. And you have the downloads folders, which holds the current versions. And if there were more versions here, you have the old versions here as well, with the original zip files downloaded from the server. So this is also interesting because first, it caches the downloads, so it doesn't re-download everything again if needed. And for example, if I accidentally delete these products folders, if I ask to install again, it will simply use the cached file here, so it will not download it again. It just extracts again and rebuild. And this is also your backup, so it's easy to visualize and see all the products that you have downloaded. You can just simply copy this to a place or backup, and that's it. And you also have your old versions downloaded here. You can, in the configuration file, there is also an option that you can set to ask for TMS Setup to delete the last X version. So if you want, by default, it will keep all the versions that you downloaded, but you can change that setting there, here in the file. versions to keep. So for example, I want to only keep the three last versions of each product. So if I download a fourth version, it will just delete the oldest.
Just a second. To show it, you can do it easily, creating free zip files in the download folder, as if we
Sorry,
had
create
downloaded.
what?
You can copy one product 3 times, and change the names to version 1, version 2, version 3, and then run TMS, and it should show the current version. Copy 1 3 times, I don't know, one small one, the logger.
Old versions.
No, you don't need all versions. This will be created automatically. Just create in current versions, create new ones as if they have been downloaded from the. That's it. Let's rename it 1.39.
For example, 1.37.
No, it should be right here. Yeah.
What? Correct, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's 39.
36.
36, yeah.
And 35, for example. So we have 4 versions here.
Yeah.
So what I have to
run the TMS update, and it should move all folders.
Yep, you only have 38, and in the old versions you only have 37 and 6, and the 35 was removed. So it's easy to maintain your versions, to have a backup, and that's the structure. Do you think it's worth showing the TMS setup? Well, just to mention, then .tms setup is a meta folder here that TMS Smart Setup uses to keep all the information about lots of things here. Log files. Log files are interesting. If there is any error, you have the command line shows you that information, but you have the logs here on tms.tms setup logs. You have this ready to use logs.zip file. If there is any problem, if you want to contact support, just send us this logs.zip file. So this has all information that you need to inspect what's going on. What else? That's it. For example, we didn't mention, but if we ask to download and install lots of products, all the downloads will be done in parallel. So it uses multi-threads to download lots of products at the same time. So it's as fast as your machine and your internet connection can be. And also when building the products, it also in parallel. So for example, we didn't see it here because we were talking, but if I ask for install all VCL, FNC, and business components, it will download all in parallel, and it will also build them all in parallel. So while it's building Aurelius for Delphi 11 Windows, it's also building TMS Flexel for Android or Delphi 11 as well, or another Delphi that you have. And of course, it also checks for dependencies. So it doesn't compile Aurelius for Windows while it's still waiting for BCL for Windows, but it can compile Aurelius for Android, for example, if the BCL for Android was already compiled. So this is all done using these meta folders here. So here you have temporary files, the hashes that it used to detect if the files were modified. It's also important to note that the TMS setup build BPL is where it saves the BPL files that are installed into the IDE. As I said, inside these TMS folders, everything that is needed. So in worst case, you can just delete the folder and you're gone. But it's also safer to call uninstall mask first to unregister from the IDE, and then you can delete the folder. Did I forget something? I think that is it.
That's it. Do you have any questions?
Bro?
Okay, maybe.
I see lots of questions here. I'm back to the Web Academy user interface.
We tried to handle as much questions as possible already in the chat box, but maybe we can, if you can turn off the presentation, Wagner, then we go back to full screen And then I can actually show the last slides.
One thing that we didn't show, but is how it behaves when there is an error, no? But well, maybe we should have done some. I don't know. It's because one very interesting thing about this is that it doesn't crash. If you can compile for iOS because you don't have the iOS files, SDKs for it, it will still install for all the other things. Because with our current installings, when you fail something, okay, all the install fail and you have to make it work again. Is it? But yeah.
Well, we can see.
Maybe you can modify one file and
do you see my
source
screen
file,
here, right?
so you put some syntax error in some source file, so it fails to compile.
Yeah, for example, let me check if I have all the products here. Let's TMS install. Let's reinstall the TMS Biz products. Yeah, you see, for example, it didn't re-download. As I said, it didn't try to download. It just get the zip file, and now it's rebuilding. Let me open, for example, Aurelius Object Manager. Oh my God. What's the name? Yeah, let me open some Aurelius file here. So let me try if def Win64. Let's put some garbage here. Is that what you mean, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It's also interesting to show another thing. If I call TMS build, it will try to rebuild Aurelius because that's the only modified. I think I changed my local source code here. My development.
Now you will.
Yeah, this is one.
Super.
No?
But you don't have Win64 in the
in
the config file. They're only compiling for.
Okay, let's open config and enable Win64. Sorry. Yeah, you can see error building TMS Aurelius for platform Win64 Intel. Fail to compile. And Xdata will fail also because RemoteDB Xdata will fail because they depend on Aurelius. So if you go to the logs, when you go to the logs, we see that the compilation fails for Aurelius, and for Xdata, it will say, probably it will say Aurelius package is required and was not found. Yeah, it's rebuilding everything. Any question? Side question?
Well, there was a remark in the chat box that maybe I want to pick in on. That was the question. Once you start using TMS Smart Setup, is it a one-way street? That means that you would stop using the TMS Subscription Manager. Well, eventually, TMS Smart Setup will, of course, replace the Subscription Manager. Or let me put it in a different way, we will have a subscription manager that will use under the hood TMS Smart Setup. But to come to the point, when you use TMS Smart Setup for a specific product or set of products, for example, let's say the TMS Biz product line, nothing prevents you from still using the TMS subscription manager to install, for example, the FNC components. So as long as, and it actually, I don't think it makes much sense to use two installers for the same product, but you can manage one set of components, products with TMS Smart Setup and still keep subscription manager maybe on an old machine, other machine, or whatsoever. That is something that you can do. But as I mentioned, the end goal is that there will be a future subscription manager that will use under the hood TMS Smart Setup to take advantage of all the benefits, extras that come with it.
As an additional comment is, of course, if you try to install Aurelius, for example, with the old installer and then try to do it here as well, you should not try to do that. But even though TMS Smart Setup will warn you that you have an Aurelius installation that was done with the old installer, and you ask you to uninstall. But the opposite is not true, because the old installers weren't aware of TMS Smart Setup. So if you install Aurelius with Smart Setup and try to install Aurelius with the old setup, please uninstall first using Smart Setup mode and install using the old installers. But other than this, they live together fine. So we see that Biz installed okay, lots of products installed okay, and Aurelius failed only for Win64, and all the products that depend on it also failed. So if we go back there and fix the code and ask for build again, actually it's trying to rebuild Aurelius for Win32 because we modified the source code. But if, for example, it was a problem with the IDE and you fix the platform, it will try to only recompile for Win64. But that is it. You see that it was much faster than the first time, because in the first time it was building everything, and now it just built what it needed to fix, which were just Aurelius and the dependents only on Win64 and Win32 actually. All right. And finally, you can use TMS. If anything goes wrong, you can also always use TMS build full parameter, which just asks TMS build to rebuild everything you have in case something goes wrong, in case you just want to clean everything up. You just call TMS build full. It takes lots more time, but it does the job.
Some interesting side note, I saw in the output of TMS Smart Setup that it also checks for Delphi 12. So it is already ready for the upcoming Delphi 12, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me bring up maybe the last slide I have for today. Just a second. That I can bring it up here. Okay. Here it is. So we want you, of course, to get started. And that means that you can get started from today with the beta version, because the beta is available. And I think it is important to have really a number of people, a sufficient number of people who will play around with the beta version to give us feedback. We want to make it as solid as possible. We are testing it on various machines, but of course, nothing compares to having it tested on a myriad of machines with all different configurations, etc., and to just make it as stable, as robust, and as good as possible on all these different environments. At this very moment, the TMS Smart Setup will work with the entire TMS BIS product line, also the FlexCell product and the VCL UI pack. We are at this moment also working on enabling all the other products for TMS Smart Setup. So expect these to come also in the coming weeks and months. You can download the current beta from our support center. So that's the exact URL. And we also made this URL here available via this QR code. If you scan it, and it will guide you automatically to the right place in the support center. And the support center is also the place where we can communicate with you, where you can ask your questions or also give us your remarks or issues that you might find that might come up. That's the place to discuss all that. And as I mentioned, the plan is that this TMS Smart Setup will be the engine under the hood of a new user interface. For those who prefer to use a user interface, we understand that a lot of people are perfectly fine and also integrate command line tools in their workflows. But those who like a user interface to control this, so this will also come as a replacement for the subscription manager. And that brings us to the questions and answers. If there are any further questions and answers, we will be happy, all three of us, to handle your questions. So let me check the chat box. Are there any open questions still in the chat box? I'm not sure, Adrian, I see that you answered quite a bit of them. So what about going back to older versions of the same components with Smart Installer? So I think indeed this is a regular something that happens. Someone installs a new version of a product, and for some reason it is desirable to go back to the previously installed version. Can TMS Smart Setup help in this case?
I was saying it is in the plans. It's on our issues. We have a list of issues in GitHub, and the one we have for the next release is having the ability to pin person. Because even you might have, for example, we drop Delphi 7 support and you want Delphi 7, so you need to be in some version. So we understand there's a need for that, and we plan to support it. We just didn't have the time to do everything, so we are focusing right now in the latest versions. But
actually, we can add it officially in the command line, but it's very easy to do that because first, as we displayed, it saves the old versions for you automatically.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. You have there in your history, you have, I have the VCL pack 1 point whatever here in the disk. And one easy way to do that is you can just delete the existing VCL folder and extract that zip over extract the zip content over the existing version and call TMS build.
I was telling them to remove also the TMS fetch so it doesn't get reloaded. But
yeah,
we should. I mean, you can do it today. You can put your own folders that don't even need to be TMS products. You could. You just need a YAML file with the configuration that is easy to do, and you could even put your own products that depend on TMS or whatever there in that folder. It's not only managed by us. So you can put an old version there, and it will work. What you need to do is to remove the TMS fetch info, which is the file that tells it that this is managed, that it should be fetched from the TMS server. So you don't want it to be fetched anymore. Well, but it's kind of complex to do. We should do it in a better way. We probably.
Right now, calling TMS updates all products, but it's planned for the very next version, maybe even still in the beta, that you can just choose what products that you want to update. So you just call TMS update FlexL, and VCL UI pack will remain untouched until you ask.
Yeah, there should be anyway a way to say, okay, I want the products frozen in time, and I don't want to worry every time to say, okay, I don't want this product to update. I just put it in some configuration and say, okay, this product stays forever in version 7 because it's the one that supports Delphi 7. And the others are all updates. So you do TMS update, and it just doesn't touch that product. It's easy to do. Just we didn't have the time. You have to just focus on one thing or the other because
we want your feedback. Actually, let us know what you thought of it here in the chat, please, and try.
Yeah.
Let us know your first impressions here in the webinar, and download the beta, try it, and let us know what you think, your suggestions and problems that you might find, of course. And that's it. We want you here.
That's the idea of the beta. We've been working like more than a year on this, and we know what we want, but sometimes you lose focus on what the other people want. So we know what you want.
The end goal, I think, is many of our customers have the TMS All Access license. If my count, the latest count is right, that's like 66 products that are included. And so the end goal is that when you go grab a coffee, you just do TMS update, and whatever product that got updated in All Access will be ready for you to use when you come back from drinking the coffee. If you compare that with what you would have to do today to update multiple TMS products with the subscription manager, you would go through multiple clicks and waiting for the each installer to proceed and finish. And so we definitely want to significantly improve that experience. It shouldn't be more than one click to get you on the latest everything from TMS. But of course, as I see, sounds good in the chat box. I see sounds good when it works reliably. That's our focus, and that's the very reason for organizing this webinar that kicks off the beta period. The beta period is the perfect opportunity for you to have a chance to test it. We test it with multiple machines, multiple people here in the team. But of course, nothing beats the multitude of you and your environments for testing it. So please, this is a warm invitation to get started with it and give us all your feedback, including also, of course, feature requests. We are more than ready to take on all your requests.
Some remarks that I want to make. First, it's working reliably. It's very solid, even though it's a beta. It's we can say that you can try it in your, of course, try in your test machine, but you can try it in production code in your production environment, because it's very solid. We are using for ourselves for a long time, and I believe it's almost a 1.0 version than a beta. I think what's really beta here is we are adding TMS products to it. So for example, the TMS Biz products that are uploaded there don't have the demos, which is not the case for Flexel. Flexel is fully there, and the products there are the official ones, are the latest versions. So it's the same product that you get from the old installers you get from TMS Smart Setup, so you can use it. And I think it's just a matter of adding more products to it.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that the tool is in beta, but the products are not. The products are the production products, so you can actually use them. We ourselves, we are finding that we just wouldn't go back to the setup.exe. We're just not doing the TMS setup ourselves. So, yeah.
I see that there is already someone who most likely tried to get it up and running while this webinar is running here. And with a message, we're running the TMS Smart Setup for BIS shows the error. There is another version of TMS core library installed in this machine. Please uninstall. But I guess that if you have previously installed it with the regular classic installer, that Wagner, correct me if I'm wrong, but that it's best to first uninstall before you start, if you have anything installed, before starting using a TMS Smart Setup. Wagner, your sound is gone.
I actually he mentioned that he already uninstalled the old version, but I think it's that installed your stuff, Adrian. I think the TMS builds YAML doesn't have the information. So I believe this problem will be solved in the next TMS Biz products updates, because it's not a problem with TMS Smart Setup itself, but the TMS Biz products uploaded to the server didn't have a small configuration to detect all the old versions. What you can do for now is open the register, Windows registry, and delete the key that says the old TMS Biz core library installed. Actually, I suggest that, thanks for trying already. As I said, TMS Biz Smart Setup, TMS Smart Setup, it's available from the TMS Support Center. Go to TMS Support Center and search for Smart Setup. You see the topic there to download Smart Setup. In that same topic, you can reply there with your suggestion. We can, for now, be the central place for discussion about TMS Smart Setup and fix bugs like this, for example. So please comment there, suggest, and Anthony, in your case, comment there. I will give you the exact information to solve that specific issue.
Here I bring up this link again. So this is the place where you have to be to get started for getting the download and getting in communication with us. Okay, I guess we will follow up with all your experiences with TMS Smart Setup via our support center. If there are no more questions for today, then I want to thank you very much for being here. Thank you even more to get started with TMS Smart Setup. And of course, we'll be in touch to help you further in this process. Thanks also, of course, to my colleagues Wagner and Adrian for this amazing work, this amazing job that has been developing over the last year. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Bye-bye.
See you.